See what we're doing here. All right.
Okay. All right.
All right. All right. All right. So we're already live. All right.
All right. Cool.
All right, guys. Welcome back to basically the first ever episode in season 2 of Fun with Dr. Mike and Friends. This is a one-on-one interview with none other than Life Beyond the Seas himself. I do believe that many of you guys who come here and that are a part of the channel that I know, you guys are definitely familiar with him. But if you are not, you are definitely in for a treat today. So I want to show my love and appreciation for everybody coming in the chat, and I definitely want to introduce you guys to none other than Mr. REEKAY Velez himself. How you doing, sir?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
That's good to hear. That's good to hear, man. I mean, it's been a minute. I think we did do a live stream, probably, I would have to say, probably 6 months or so, a long time ago, I like to believe. But we're back with a part 2, and I do believe that there are certain things that have changed between now and the last few months since we have had this particular interview. So I definitely want to get to a couple of questions, and if you guys have any questions, I will definitely answer them in the chat. But such as myself, I'm gonna go ahead and get this thing and get this ball rolling. I want to go ahead and say, I think you've been in the country for roughly about 6 years now, or a little bit more than
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Mid-July of this year, 2018, was 6 years. So now it's 6 years and a little change. Yeah, right about there. Yeah.
All right, so about 6 years and some change. Is there anything about that you wish you knew before you came to the Philippines? Or is there anything that you've learned within the last year since the last time we had this particular live stream together?
You know, interestingly enough, and we'll talk more about that later, but I'm getting ready to leave the Philippines, not because I'm unhappy here, but I want to expand my travels. And just as interesting timing, in the last 6 months, I've learned a lot about mm, the interactions I've had with Filipinas. I mean, things that I really hadn't, I should have probably suspected, but it's been super clear, like in the last 6 months, especially in the last 3 weeks. Um, I don't want to give away too many, I don't give away women's secrets, but I mean, I will say that um, women that people know I've dated, I've been pretty open about that. Other women that I've been dating recently, in let's say in the last 6 months or year, I really haven't, brought that up on YouTube or anything. It's just created too much drama in the past. But I will say this, getting back to your question, I wish I had known um, just how intense the game playing is here in the Philippines. I mean, I knew after I'd been here a year, I knew that, yeah, okay, some Filipinos are scammers. We've all heard about that. But it goes way beyond that. And maybe I didn't see as much of it because I was in Dumaguete. I saw a little of it. But being now a year in Cebu, I'm telling you, there's a whole other sub layer of weirdness and game playing in the dating realm on both sides, but I mean, it's pretty intense on the Filipina side. I mean, stuff that I, again, suspected that I guess if I was to share that with others now, I would say when you come to the Philippines, I'll tell you what I wish somebody would have told me. Um, it's that old saying, believe half of what you see, or no, what is it? Believe half of what you hear and none of what you see, basically. I mean, it's things are so much different than what they look like. And the good thing is that from the beginning, I've been telling people from the
Mhm.
beginning that I started my channel. You can go back to the videos from 2013. I have been telling guys, take it slow, take it slow. I've been telling guys, don't get emotionally invested your first 3 months. Just see it as a probation period for that girl, because I'm telling you, things just are not always the way they seem, and I'll give you a couple examples. I mean, uh,
Hmm.
like girls who will just swear up and down they don't have a kid, and they wait till you're all emotionally invested into the relationship, and then when I mean, like this one girl, I was talking to this one expat. I do, the private consultant thing, the FaceTime, and this is where I get a lot of this information is from guys who, just confidentially tell me the problem they're having and how we can solve it or fix it or deal with it. And and one guy did a K-1 visa, got his Filipino girlfriend to the U.S., married her, and
Hmm.
it wasn't until 6 months later, living in the US, when she knew she was settled in, they got a house and all that, that was when she told him, well, I want to immigrate my 2 kids. And he's like, what kids? She's like, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I forgot to tell you. Yeah, I don't, I have 2 kids. And she had told him all the whole time before she had no kids. So now he's basically been shanghaied, you know? Now, stuff like that's been around. People have known a bit about that. The other thing is that I mentioned in a recent video that the Philippines is changing the culture. And again, since 2013, I said that as internet becomes more accessible to Filipinas, they're taking on a much different approach to life than the usual traditional province girl who's just wide-eyed and naive and just wants to marry a foreigner. Life is simple. It's not that way anymore. It was probably that way 10 years ago, but it's pretty much faded as now in the last 6 years. When I got here 6 years ago, hardly any women had a smartphone. I mean, if they did, their husband bought it for them or a boyfriend. Nowadays, I'd say 80% or more Filipinas have a smartphone, which means
Okay.
access to the internet, not just texting, but internet. And it's changed the whole landscape. I mean, these girls are I don't know if they're trading gaming secrets or what, but they've taken the level of game up to Olympic level. I mean, I'm serious. I mean, there's girls that are playing 3, 4 guys at a time, collecting money. I mean, they've been doing this in the past. It's just that it's gotten more rampant, and the lies have gotten much more intense. I mean, another thing is it used to simply be a Filipina was working a couple guys, making some money. She had a Filipino boyfriend, and that was it. But now it's taken a whole other level where you got a girl who is basically doing the same thing, collecting money from 2, 3 guys long distance, and
All right.
promising she's going to marry them, and and the whole time she's a lesbian. She's just a full on 100% living with her girlfriend, lesbian. She has no intention of marrying any of these guys. I mean, it's almost like peeling back the onion, I guess is what it comes down to. So if there's anything I wish I had known when I first came here, it's the level of just intense game playing
Oh
that goes
yes.
under the surface level. Oh, we still on? Yep, we still on? Hello, hello, hello. This thing on?
I happen to agree with that. This is something that I think you said. I think this is something that has developed. Yeah, I'm still. Hello. Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, yeah. Okay, I'm still here.
Hello.
Yeah, hold on. Oh,
Can
okay.
you?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
thought
yeah, you're
yeah, on
good.
my end it just
You were
went
still here.
blank there for a bit.
Can
Okay.
everybody hear Rika? Hey, yeah, we're still on.
Oh, okay. All right. Good, good.
God, what's
You were saying something. Your voice, your audio keeps dropping out.
all right, guys? Can you hear me?
Oh, okay. Now I can hear you. Yeah.
Damn. All right. Damn it. My apologies, guys. My microphone got unplugged. That was my fault. I apologize for that.
Oh,
Okay. Like I
yeah.
was yeah, okay. Like I was saying before, you're right. I do believe that this particular level of game in which you are referring to was something that they developed over time. Like you said, this is like passing notes or passing the baton or passing, these ideas and bouncing them off of each other. Like this is what I tried with this foreigner and it worked. So,
Mhm.
they start to develop these ideas amongst one another. And like you said, they develop what I would like to refer to as a simple game plan. And the smart ones, what I've noticed is they avoid asking for large amounts of money. So it may be $20 here, $20 there, but like you said, they're asking that from multiple foreigners. But
Yeah.
some of them will go for broke and say, "Oh, I need $100 for this. I need $100 for that." You'll have a chosen few that will go that route. I did read in the chat somebody had a question about, do you feel like you've done absolutely everything that you possibly could here in the Philippines? Because they say that another Philippine YouTube blogger, they kind of go through the moments. If you've been vlogging for 5, 6 years, 7 years, I mean, it's
Mhm.
very hard to come up with new content. Maybe you're falling in that line of, I'm kind of, you're not flattening out, but I mean, it becomes difficult to deliver the types of content that you want to. So you kind of want to take yourself out of one space and put yourself into another to develop, a little bit more well-roundedness in the channel. So do you feel like you're in that particular space right now? Is that the reason why you feel like you want to, find another location outside of the Philippines for a while?
Actually, no. But I do recognize that that can happen to any vlogger to where they run out of ideas. They really don't know, they just start repeating things and whatever. And I mean, it's good to update a topic if there's a new twist on it or whatever. If I wasn't going to be doing my plan to go to Southeast Asia, um, I'd have plenty more material to do here in the Philippines. And I'll explain it this way. The videos, I don't know if anybody ever noticed this, but this is how I do it. Every video that I do falls into like one of three categories. One type of video is what I call show and tell, where I go to a location, like the mariachi grill video that I just did. I go to a restaurant, a beach, a resort. I go to a location, show and tell. Here it is. Here's how much it costs. Here's what there is to enjoy. Here's where to find it on Google Maps. Having a great time. See you guys later. Bye. Show and tell. That's one type of video. Now, that
Okay.
type of video, I've only skimmed the surface. In 6 years, I've hardly seen what I consider much. I mean, there is tons. There's all these islands out there. I mean, and I mean, yeah, I've covered like Dumaguete, Cebu, Matan, Mobile, Mekong. I mean, Boracay, all over the place, Panglao. But there are still so many more islands to see. And if anything, if I was going to stay in the Philippines and do more show and tell videos, what I would be doing and what I'd encourage other existing Philippine vloggers to do is write off the major places. Cebu, Dumaguete, Bohol, Panglao, these have all been done to death, you know, even Naga and other places. So I would say go to the places that no
Right.
expats have gone to. There are tons of great islands. For
Yeah.
instance, Argao. I'll just pick that one. Argao is over on the south end of Cebu. I took a motorbike ride there one time. I got lost. And you know, it's a great little place. It's beautiful, but it's off the grid. Nobody seems to know about it. Sugar Beach. I don't think I've seen yet. Probably there are, but I haven't seen yet a major vlogger cover Sugar Beach. That place is amazing. Surigao. I mean, Sipalon, or not Sipalon, but Sipalai. There are tons of places out there totally untapped that are not tourist locations. They're not even easy to get to, maybe, but that is great content waiting to happen. There's the whole Philippines to hit, and I haven't even gone north. There's all these places in Luzon. There's volcanoes. I mean, there's so many places still to see. So just on the show and tell version of or portion of it, no, I mean, I think what happens is that majority of expats get to the Philippines, and it's just natural. You know, they're here to retire. They meet a Filipina, they get married, or they get into a permanent relationship, and they stay in one place. You know, I mean, it's very few vloggers. How many vloggers can you think of right now that are single? I mean, there's Says Style, there's me, and I mean single, like not in a relationship. Ned is single, but you know he's been in an ongoing relationship for the longest time. But you know, Bud Brown and Mike and all the other guys, they're married. They're staying in one place, and that's normal. That's expected. But if you stay in one place and you want new content, every once in a while you got to say, okay, I'm gonna take 10 days, get on a bus or a plane to this place nobody's talking about, and shoot video there. That's what needs to happen if guys really want fresh content for their channel. You know. Now the second type of videos that I do is what I call kind of the talking head commentary videos, where I essentially share an observation. I will observe something for 6 months or so, or 3 months, and
Yep.
really just look at the topic. You know, like for instance, the Walang Forever. I spent 2 years contemplating that whole concept of what was going on before I did the video on it. And I don't take that long with all of them, but you know, if I'm going to talk about jealousy or like Filipinas being late on dates or Walang Forever, Tampo, these are all subjects nobody talked about. There wasn't one vlogger talking about them until I brought them up. And that's where I think it takes an introspective person and an observant person to not only see what's going on, but analyze it correctly, not jump to conclusions, not to rely on stereotypes, not to look for blanket simple one sentence statements that cover it all. Guys need to, if they're going to analyze the culture and the dating and everything going on here, they have to really put some mental thought and time into it before they do a video so that they can come up with these new concepts. Like I said, you know, Walang Forever, Tampo, all these things, nobody ever thought to talk about them, you know, and that there's still more topics out there. So I would say that's another area that there's no reason to be flatlined. If you got your eyes open and you're looking at what's going on beyond the physical, like what's really going on with how you relate to the in-laws, dealing with money here. I mean, every topic here, there's another layer under that, but it takes a little mental work to peel away and get to the core and then identify and communicate it accurately. And I think a lot of guys just don't want to do that much work mentally. You know, the third thing is the third type of video I do, besides show and tell and besides commentary, is information. And information was really the void that I filled, which I think ended up making my channel, you know, viewed by so many people. I'm now at like 11.5 million total views. I'm getting 250,000 views a month now. And I think a big reason for that is because of informational videos, nuts and bolts stuff like how to find an apartment. Now, many of these topics have been done, but I'm just giving examples. You know, how to find an apartment, you know, the usefulness of apps like, say, Grab and MapMe, different things that make life easier, dealing with leases, immigration requirements, immigration law changes, because it seems like either the law changes or office to office, they just don't apply the law equally and, you know, uniformly. Banking, transferring money, the nuts and bolts information stuff you need. You know, that there's a lot of little tips and hints that guys can do in their video logs or video channels that basically make the new traveler, makes their experience easier. That's the
Right.
core. So to answer your
I
question,
mean,
no, if I was going to stay in the Philippines, there's tons more stuff to talk about. It's just that, again, I want to expand and see more places. But if I was going to stay, I'd have plenty more to talk about.
yeah, I mean, you're correct. I mean, you never really run out of topics to talk about. There's always something an introspective view of certain types of topics that you don't feel a lot of foreigners addressing. Like informational videos, they do get the most views. It doesn't matter what kind of channel you have. I mean, a lot of people do want to see the places that you are going to and visiting, but like you said, if you do Cebu, if you do Manila, you do that stuff, it's repetitive. I mean, not too many people I know do Davao, but Davao is still technically not necessarily city, but there are probably a couple of people that have probably touched on that before. But you
Yeah,
do have to get out there.
Dave Phelps. Yeah, I think Dave Phelps was there for a while. Yeah.
Right. So there are, in my personal opinion, and I think many people can agree with this, when it comes to vlogging, when it comes to being a YouTuber, it doesn't matter where you are in the world, it is almost impossible to find a topic and do a topic that somebody has not covered before. The best thing you could do is come up with it and talk about it from your particular perspective. If you provide your perspective or somebody has a question, they ask you specifically, then you give your view on it from where you come from, and then people may be able to say, okay, I saw this guy's video, I saw what he believes about it, I look at your video, I see what you agree about it, and then I kind of compare the two. Because I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure when you first got here, there probably wasn't too many YouTubers talking about the Philippines. I would probably say that's highly accurate because that was 6 years ago. So we're
Yeah.
looking at
2012.
roughly, right. I don't really believe at that time there were too many people at least vlogging about the information. I'm not going to say that there wasn't a video about the Philippines on YouTube
Yeah.
at that time, because I'm pretty sure there was. But somebody consistently giving out content and stuff like that. This is definitely an interesting perspective that a lot of people, they touch on it, or some people, like you say, they scratch the surface. It's very hard for some people to understand um about the culture. I mean, this is one of the questions that I'm sure you get a lot of questions that I get a lot myself, and people want to understand what actually defines learning the culture in the Philippines. If you had to give two sentences to describe what you believe or constitute learning the culture in its essence, what would you say?
In order to learn the culture, and I'm thinking not just the Philippines, but any place that you would go, I
Hmm.
guess I would give the advice that my uncle gave me, and it was happened to be two sentences. Before I came here, I went to a family reunion, talked to my uncle because I have like eight uncles, but or actually six uncles. But I talked to this one in particular because he's the only uncle in our family that ever traveled outside the U.S. You know, he spent two tours in Vietnam. He was in
Hmm.
Japan for a while. You know, so he's the only one that did any international travel. And so I asked him before I came to the Philippines, I cornered him at the family reunion that we have every year, and I told him what I was going to do. And I said, "What's the best advice you could give me to adjust to the culture in the Philippines?" And he said two things. He said, "Well, we learned a lot in basic training and survival in the Marines, but we learned more when we got in country in Vietnam because then we
Mm-hmm.
were in the thick of it." And he said, "It comes down to two things." He goes, "The first thing, when you're in a foreign country, keep in mind you're not there to fix anything." And that's a
Correct.
big temptation, is to come into another country, see the differences, how it's different from your way of life, and start in whatever level pretty much pointing out and saying, well, this is supposed to be done this way, and that's supposed to be done that way. And they might even be valid, but his point was, don't go there with the idea of fixing things, because it's a vain pursuit. They've been doing it this way for who knows how long. And unless you have like the power of the government to really influence change on a national level, you're only going to be pissing people off by telling them, you really should do it this way, you should do it that way. That's all that's going to happen. He goes, don't do
Yeah,
that.
that's yeah.
Don't
Mm,
do that.
that's
He goes,
bad. That's the worst.
now the second piece of advice he gave me was, he said, the second thing is, when you get there, again, you're not there to teach anybody anything, you're there to learn. He goes, when we got to Vietnam, we were out, I mean, we had rations and stuff. He goes, but we had to find out what in the jungle can you eat and what do you not eat? What plants do you touch? What plants do you not touch? Where do you get clean water? How do you make clean water? I mean, a lot of these things. And he said, the second thing that he told me was, when you get there, watch how they do things. Because he goes, if you go to the desert, you will learn how to survive in the desert by watching people who have done it for hundreds of years. And he goes, yeah, you're going into a place that has malls and all this, but if you want to understand and blend in and learn what that culture is about, keep your eyes open, keep your ears open, and watch how they do things. Watch how they eat. Like, perfect example. I was out in Lapu-Lapu my first week in the Philippines, and I got out to the marketplace. And again, I've been eating with forks and knives and spoons, all my life. I get out there, and there's this row of barbecue chicken places, and I sit down, and I'm waiting for my food, and it comes, and there's no forks, spoons, nothing, and then I remember what my uncle said, so I started looking around at everybody around me. I'm like, well, how are they eating? Well, they're just putting a plastic bag on their hand and eating with their hands. So I got a
Correct.
plastic bag that I noticed on the table and started doing it, and that's a simple example, but I practice that even now. It's when I'm in an unfamiliar situation, I watch, I look, I observe, I analyze, I see what are they doing, what's their disposition, and those are the two things. One, don't come here with the idea of fixing things, you're just going to frustrate yourself. And two, if you want to learn how to get along in the Philippines, truly watch what they do. If you're living out in the province and it's fiesta day, and you notice that everybody's kind of just milling around, walking house to house and eating at each other's houses, well, like I did this in Bohol. I ended up going to like two different houses, um, just just getting to talk to the Filipinos there, and next thing I know, they're handing me a plate. They're like, "Hey, get some food and this and that," and it's all kind of a casual, like, I don't know. It's kind of a cool thing, It's like you're almost like family, and they're asking you where you're
Yeah.
from, are you married, you got a girlfriend, da, 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 you got to meet my sister, and you just roll with it. I guess that's the best way to put it. Just roll with it. See what's going on and roll with it. So those are the two things. Don't try to change things. Just roll with what's going on. Don't fight it.
Yeah. and when I think of, the ideas in the Philippines, like you said, don't try to push your ideas on others. That is something that we've talked about before, because it'll never work. You do realize you're coming, possibly, if you're a Westerner, whatever it is, you're coming from a first world country to a third world country. So there is a lot of adapting that must be done. There is one thing that I need to ask you, and you mentioned this earlier before, but I want to bring it back up. Do you regret ever featuring, the women in your life on your YouTube channel up until the point where you decided to not do it? Do you regret putting them in the videos in the beginning because of, the questions that people always ask about her or whatever it may be? Because with some bloggers, if I'm going to use Sentai 7 as an example, him and his girlfriend are always on, and sometimes you'll realize, if you look at the chat section, it's always people, not necessarily enjoying the video, but always asking about the girl or something like that. So in your personal experience and what you've gone through with YouTube and everything, do you regret ever, featuring the women in the videos and stuff like that, or, past relationships and talking about it, and then, the good and bad side of it? Do you ever regret it in that particular perspective?
Yeah, actually, totally regret it. I mean, again, I was new. I didn't even plan on having a channel when I came here. I was just going to get married and start writing some books. I just fell into the whole thing because I posted videos for my kids so they'd see I was okay. Next thing I know, people I don't know are watching my videos. It just took on a life of its own. So it was all new to me, and my intention was, like with the other videos, is okay, I want to share the things I'm learning. I want to share my adventure and experience here. So when I did begin, I was already vlogging, and then I got into a relationship, like say with Lynn. um, of course, my first thought was, wow, this is an amazing part of my life. I want to share it with the viewers. And she's always with me anyway at the time. So it was just natural that if I'm shooting a video, she's there, and it's like it almost seemed rude to not introduce her. So I did, and all that. It seemed like a good idea at the time. And really, for probably 98% of the people that watch the videos, it is a good idea. In a perfect world, those 98% did appreciate, and they were like mildly curious, like, well, okay, so Ricky's out there doing his thing, and who's the woman in his life, and how's that working out? And because that's a question people have, is what kind of life can I have in the Philippines? And who you have as a
Mm-hmm.
girlfriend or wife is a big part of that. So of course it was natural that people were like, "Hey, we want to know more about her. We want to see her." And then I even encouraged her to do a couple of her own videos to share about her life. Turned out she really just wasn't into it. She only did like 2, 3 videos. And I didn't push her.
Yeah.
If you don't want to do it, it's okay. You don't have to do it. So but here's the problem, is that 98% of the people were cool with it. 2% of the viewing population just had the most crass, rotten, hateful, disgusting, horrible things to say about her, about us, about Filipinos in general. And that's
Mm.
what that ended up being, the fly in the ointment that really ruined the whole thing for everybody, is these trolls and stuff. And so I look back on it, and you know ever since Lynn and I went our own ways, which is now a year and a half ago that we officially really kind of went our own ways, is ever since then I had one relationship, which was last year, which was from like October to about March of this year. So we were together about 8 months, somewhere around there. I had her in 3 videos, and I decided, and I told her about all this nonsense that happens. And I told her, and I told several other women that have been in my videos since then, and people have probably noticed this. I told them before we ever shot video and we started dating, I said, look, here's what's happened in the past. I'm going to continue to shoot video. We're going to this place together. I said, I'm not going to introduce you. I'm not going to expect you to say anything on camera. Just we're together. I'll shoot the video. I'll shut it off, and then we're going to enjoy our date. And they understood that, and they were totally okay with it. So in the video, if you notice, they're just kind of keeping themselves busy, and they're looking around, or they're like in the recent one with Kimmy, she's just kind of messing with her phone, and but other than saying, hey, this is my friend Kimmy, that's it. She's not the point of the video. The point of the video is the Mexican restaurant. So that's how I've
Right.
handled it in the last year now. Is yeah, I'm still dating, and I date someone for a while. Maybe it doesn't work out, I move on, whatever. But I'm not making my relationships the point of the videos anymore. Now you got somebody like, say, for instance, Terrence Flannery, and Bud Brown. I mean, they're married, and so it's kind of like them doing videos. Their wife is such a big part of their life in the Philippines. It's almost hard to not include them in what's going on, you know. But for me as a single guy, um, again, there's more downside to sharing the women in my life than there is upside. So I just choose to, like I said, I tell them, look, you'll be in the video, in the background, whatever, but you're not going to be the center of attention in this video. The focus is on this place, this restaurant, this beach, whatever we're doing. So that's how I've handled it. Because you asked if there was any regret. There is, because again, I'll use the example with Lynn. Lynn went through a lot of pain. This is what these a-holes don't understand. It hurts her feelings. She went through a lot of pain, that I had to help her through, because these a-holes are saying disgusting things about her. And she's a good woman, and she has a good reputation. She's hardworking. She's probably the most honest person I've ever met in my life. And it really hurt her that these idiots are saying these rotten things about her. So I wish, if I could go back in time, I would have just kept her in the background. As wonderful as the relationship we had, it was great, and I wish I could have shared that more with other people in the videos. If I could go back in time, I would have just kept her in the background. And since then, I've gone through all the videos, and I've deleted pretty much every video that has her in it or focuses on her or anything. I may have skipped one or two, I don't know, but I pretty much combed through 800 and some videos to take her out of the spotlight. You
Yeah, I guess that's the best thing that you could possibly do. It's unfortunate though, because before I even started my channel, it was just me. And then of course I am in a relationship. So in every couple of videos or so, I do feature my girlfriend as well. And with me, and when I do my videos and stuff like that, my girl knows from the beginning, because I've seen how it affected other people's channel, and I've seen the way that they come at other people's girlfriends, especially their Filipinas. And I'm like, if you're going to ever have your own channel, or, if you're going to be in my channel, just prepare yourself for the worst. I'm not saying that anybody's going to say anything bad, but because I've seen other people go through it, I try to make sure that I instill that in her. And Filipinos can be very, very sensitive. I mean sensitive, to a
Yeah,
T. So it's easy for them to break down and cry because they hear a comment. We know that it's trolling, but for them it's like, this person is serious about this. He said this about me. He said that about me. Like, he's for real. Like, they believe him even if they never met this person. So because Filipinos are very, very sensitive, you do have to prepare them for this particular uh outcome, when you put
yeah.
them in videos and stuff like that. So it
Right.
definitely sucks. um let's see. Good. I mean, I wanted to ask you a question. In your experience, I'm not sure if you ever have dated one, but what is your idea or thoughts about dating single moms in the Philippines? I did a live stream on that probably a couple of days ago, and we had a good conversation about it. But I direct the question to you. How do you feel about single moms in the Philippines? Have you ever dated a single mom in the Philippines? Definitely want to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I have dated single moms in the last 6 years. Now, how I feel about it, I have kind of like two sides of the coin. There's what I want for my life, and then
Mm-hmm.
there's a general comment for everybody. What I want for my life, I've been very clear for the last 2 years. I don't want to raise any more kids. You know, whether I don't want to make any kids, I don't want to make any babies, I don't want to raise any babies. I really, my whole parenting thing, I don't want to do that again. I have too much other things I want to do. I want to travel. I want to write books. I want to do podcasts. I got two more websites I'm putting together. I mean, I got a lot of stuff that keeps me busy. And you can't be a good parent or even a good husband, boyfriend, whatever, unless you devote time to that. Now, I understand that, and
Correct.
that's why I would rather do my projects than take on a girlfriend that has kids. So that's why I don't. If
Hmm.
I'm not even looking for a relationship. I got too much stuff to do, and with me bouncing around Southeast Asia, I don't have time for a relationship. That's just going to anchor me down in one place. So, so what works for me is I don't start any relationship now with a woman who has kids because it's a dead end for me. I don't want to raise her kids. So there's no point building a huge emotional bond knowing that I'm just not going to raise kids, you know. Now, for people in general, again, some guys want a ready-made family. They don't want to go through the diaper stage. You know, taking on a Filipina who's already got like a 4-year-old and a 7-year-old, that's perfect. It's like, yeah, just be the new dad, raise them, easy peasy, just kind of move with it, roll with it. They don't plan on traveling. They don't want to write books. They don't want to do podcasts. They don't want to do it. They just want to be a dad, you know, and that's great. So there is no rule like, well, REEKAY doesn't date single moms, so I guess I shouldn't either. No, some guys want to be a dad, and that's great. There's tons of Filipinas, you know, single moms and kids who need a dad in their life, a good man, and so there's a huge need there. I'll say what I've said so many times in my videos over and over and over. I tell expats, I ask yourself, what do you really want? Because you'll have a much better retirement if you know what you want. If you want to be a chick's boy the rest of your life, do that. Don't get married and then try to be a chick's boy. If you want marriage, don't waste your time with bar girls. Find a good woman. Find a nurse, a teacher, a college girl, you know, a province girl, something. But find wife material. You can't
Correct.
design your life if you don't know what you want. So I would say again to expats in general, especially new ones, if you're coming to retire in the Philippines, know what you want. You know, if you want a family but you don't want to start at the baby stage, date single moms. Don't date single girls that are 18 that got no kids. Don't waste your time with them. Just date a woman 25, 28 who's got a couple kids already. You know, just know what you want and go for that.
Agreed. Agreed 100%. So the question that I want to ask, I don't know if you answered it yet. I don't believe it that you did, but where is your next destination after the Philippines? Where do you want to go? You said Southeast Asia, so I know we're
Yeah.
sticking to a particular region, but where would possibly be your first 2 or 3 destinations within the you know, within the Southeast Asia region?
Well, my actual, in fact, I just booked my tickets the other day. My next destination is going to be California. I'm going to
All
go
right.
see my mom and hang out there till the first week of January. Do Thanksgiving, Christmas, tamales, and New Year's there with my kids and my mom and stuff. Um, Now, my first landing spot will be in Vietnam. Um, and I have basically, like I was telling a couple close buddies of mine, and they were like, well, where are you? Same question. They're like, well, where are you going to be? And I said, honestly, I don't know. I mean, I know that I'll be landing in Vietnam and I'm going to check it out. And I'm going to, you know, my basic rule is for the next year or two is going to be if I'm enjoying the place I'm at, I'll plan on staying there 3 to 6 months, you know. But if I feel like, okay, this place is okay, but I got the itch to go see Thailand, well, then I'm going to travel super light, you know, one suitcase, one overnight bag, that's it. So if I,
Correct.
and I'm going to do Airbnb on a monthly basis. So if it gets to be 15th of the month and I'm thinking, well, let's see, my Airbnb expires in 2 weeks. Am I really happy here? I'm okay happy, but this guy's telling me about Chiang Mai, this guy's telling me about Laos, this guy's telling me about Cambodia. They're all so close. I can just jump on a plane at the end of the month and just get another Airbnb over in the other country. And I really
Correct.
don't have like a list, an itinerary. I mean, I'm pretty much, it's like, like Indiana Jones in the first Raiders of the Lost Ark movie. It's like, what are you gonna do now, Indy? He's like, I don't know, I'm making this up as I go. That's pretty much how my
Hmm.
itineraries is. If I enjoy a place, I'll continue exploring it. If I get the itch and I hear about some other place, like right now, my buddy's inviting me out to Langkawi, this island off the coast of Malaysia. It's beautiful.
Hmm.
I want to see it, but I had already booked my tickets for Vietnam. Now he's going to be there for about 6 months, I think. So I may just spend, I don't know, 2 months in Vietnam and then go off to Langkawi. And then there's a woman I've been talking to over in Sanya, China, who doesn't want kids. She's got her own business. She's a yoga ballet instructor, super hot. And we've been talking for about 2 years. And I mean, I'm telling you, she's a full on 10, believe me. And we've been talking for
I
about
believe
three
it.
months. So maybe I'll go to Sanya. I'll get an Airbnb in Sanya, see her in person, because like I've always said, the whole online thing, you're pretty much a pen pal. I don't know if I can really get along with her until I spend some time with her. So I may
Correct.
go off to Sanya. It's on Hunan Island. It's part of China, but it's right off the coast of Vietnam. Um,
Hmm.
I've gotten, ever since I announced that I'm going to be roaming around, I've gotten tons of PMs and people that have traveled in all these places. They're telling me, oh, you got to go to, the Monkey Island in Cambodia, or the Monkey Temple. They're like, oh, you got to try the food over here in Hanoi. So I've got a list of places for the next 2 years to check out. And I really don't want to lock myself down to a 6 month lease. I don't want to do any of that. I want to be able to pick up and just relocate on a moment's notice. That's how I want to do my Southeast Asia experience. So we're talking Thailand, Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, Hunan. I'm not interested in mainland China. Um, and then Langkawi in Malaysia, and then also it'll be a bit expensive. I'll have to put it towards the end. Is Tokyo, Japan? I'd like to do a month in Tokyo, Japan.
Okay, yeah, Tokyo is very, very expensive. I got family over there now, and yeah, I've heard that the prices in Tokyo are definitely up there. But
Yeah.
that's pretty much the lifestyle that I think where you are in your life, particularly. Technically you're single. You're just having fun and stuff like that. I mean, this is the type of lifestyle that you would want somebody to live. I mean, if you're single and you're just trying to get out and see the world, see the world. I
Yeah.
spent 10 years. I spent 10 years in the Philippines before, but I did go to UAE and I did go to Kuwait and I did go to other places. I didn't vlog it because I didn't start vlogging until later on after I had
Mhm.
already finished my stint in the Philippines. So, yeah, you gotta want to see more than just the Philippines. I mean, I encourage it and I know you encourage it as well. Come check out the country, have fun with it, but you can settle here if you want to build a life for yourself here. That's perfectly fine. If you want to have a place, just to have something to come back to, you can rent a nice little cheap place and, just store your stuff there or whatever you have. And then you can bounce around to the islands, like you said, see the hidden gems, go off the
Mhm.
beaten path. And then you could take that $100, $75 trip to Thailand or Cambodia or whatever it is, because when you take those trips, from the Philippines and you're sticking to Southeast Asia, of course, we already know ticket prices shouldn't be that expensive unless you plan on buying tickets on the spot.
Right.
So you definitely have that option. And if you are at this particular stage in your life, you got to be able to see more than what's put in front of you, especially if you have the funds and the means to do so.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally agree.
Um, oh man, I mean, I'm definitely interested to see where the videos go from here. I mean, I definitely have dreams and aspirations as far as myself right now, continuing with work and doing what I do. My whole goal at this particular moment in time is
Hmm.
to at least see one different place every year. Of course, I'll always go back to the Philippines, but I definitely want to go to at least one different place every year. And then as time progresses, maybe I could do more. So you always have to have a plan and a goal in mind. Start small, perfectly for myself. Somebody like you already have something that you're working on or something that you've been thinking about. How long have you been actually thinking about leaving the Philippines? Like, when did this thought creep into your head, and how long have you been getting everything in order, finances, budgets,
Hmm.
listening to everybody talk, whatever it is? How long have you been putting it together before you finally decided it was time to make this move?
Actually, I 2.5 years ago, when I was still in Dumagetti, and Lynn and I were talking about breaking up and all that, I that was a huge part of it. Is that I knew I wanted to travel. I tried to talk myself out of it for a year. I tried to tell myself, forget about travel, forget about all these projects, just settle down, get married. And I tried, and I couldn't make myself commit to that. So really, since 2.5 years ago, I've been wanting to do this. Now, I was all set to do it last year, actually. And so I moved to Cebu with the idea of being here for 3 months, and then I was going to do what I'm about to do now. Problem is, well, I don't know if I call it a problem, but after I moved to Cebu is when I met the last real relationship I had, the one that was for 7 months. And and so it was, after 7 months, we were talking about long term. I was telling her, well, we could really start making a plan together because she didn't want to have kids, and she wanted to travel, but she had a really good job. And I said, well, if we're gonna make this permanent, you can quit your job. I'll help your sisters and all this, and we can travel. So I stayed and committed to a lease here in Cebu in March for a year, and so that's why I postponed it all. Was I was thinking this relationship was gonna kind of like she would be going with me, so I was willing to give it a year to build that relationship. But as it turned out, there was some irreconcilable differences. I'll just put it that way, and so I ended it.
Mhm.
And and so that's why I'm basically doing now what I had scheduled for a year ago. You know, I don't
Okay.
regret it because this last 9 months I've been in a stable, really nice condo here. I've been really enjoying myself. I've been spoiled. I live like 10 blocks from, or not even 10 blocks from Ayala Mall, and I got all these amenities. And, it's been really really sweet. But having a location that's stable has allowed me to do more videos. It's allowed me to refine my plan. It's allowed me to hang out with some of my friends I haven't seen in a while. So the last 9 months have been pretty productive. But now it's time to just, cut bait, just go ahead, and I got the tickets, time to go. I've got closure on every relationship that I ever had here. Everybody's moved on, done their own thing, had a baby, got married, some are engaged, another's lesbian. It's like, okay, well, we're all done. We're done. So I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go. But I really had this in mind since 2.5 years
Okay. So two and making this move. So how long do you plan on staying going though? That's my question. I mean, how long do you think it will be before you make it back to the Philippines?
Well, back when I had this buddy in high school, he was like a brother to me. Well, he passed away, but I mean, we talked a lot about stuff, and one of the axioms we came up with in life was there's the plan, and then there's what happens.
Okay.
And the
Okay,
plan,
sure.
the plan for me is to spend 1 to 2 years just bouncing around. Just like I said, I see a new place I want to go, just finish my Airbnb, get a ticket, land at the other place, and do it. Um, my plan is to do that for the next year or two. Now, that's the plan. I may end up doing that for the next 10 years. I may end up at the end of 2 years thinking, I'm sick of living out of a suitcase. I'm sick of dealing with the language barrier, and that's going to be the biggest thing. I've talked to so many expats who have given me, me advice. I asked them, I go, why is it you were in Thailand for 8 years and now you live in the Philippines? Why were you in Vietnam only 1 year and now you live in the Philippines? And across the board, they said, it gets so tiring dealing with the language barrier. It's in the Philippines, you take it for granted. You want a taxi, you get a taxi. You're looking for the grocery store, it says right on the side of the building, grocery store. But when you're in Vietnam, Cambodia, Thailand, it says squiggly dot, squiggly, squiggly dot, dot. You don't know if you're looking at a pharmacy or the DMV. You don't know what you're looking at, you know? And so
That's true.
I might get tired of it like they did, Now, another thing that could happen is I could find myself getting married. Who knows? I might find my unicorn. I might find the woman who says, I want to travel. I don't want kids. I'm not looking for a house. I don't need you to support my parents. I just want to get married and have one person in my life. And and I've met women like that, but um, like one I just met recently, she's wonderful. Problem is she's already got a boyfriend. But so
It's always the problem.
yeah,
That's always the
yeah.
issue.
And I even told her, in fact, well, I won't go into all that, but basically I told her, I said, well, I just wish I would have met you before your boyfriend did. But
I said that line too. Yeah.
I may find myself, who knows, getting married and living the rest of my life in Thailand or the rest of my life in China, in Sanya, China. I mean, who knows? I mean, really, I mean, the future's wide open. Who knows? And I'm open to that. So, but the general plan is travel for 2 years till I'm sick of it, till I just want to come back to the Philippines, get a condo in Cebu. Everything's in English. I got all the amenities I need, and just chill out and regroup and find a Filipina I could build a relationship with. Because right now, I cannot build a relationship with a Filipina or most any other woman unless I stay in one place. So I got to be ready to stay in one place before I can really build a relationship. So that's the general plan. We'll see what happens.
Considering marriage again, that's something that you can see in your near future. I mean, because I
Yeah.
know that most guys, I know that I've seen this with a lot of guys, and this is more so when it comes to dealing with living in Asia. Don't get me wrong, I've seen a lot of guys settle down, extended girlfriends. They don't necessarily use the M word. It's extended girlfriends just in case things go bad. Of course, separation could be easier, than marriage and then annulment, etc. So, for yourself, you do see a potential or a possibility for yourself to get married anytime in the future. That's something you're okay with, or something that, you know, I can see myself settling with this girl. If you had that thought, you would definitely put a ring on it, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, but here's the caveat. There's a big difference between what's possible and what's
Mm-hmm.
probable. It's possible that there's a monkey in my bathroom. That is possible. But is it probable? Not likely. And in my case, the criteria I need of a woman who doesn't have kids, doesn't want kids, they do exist in Asia. I mean, I just was with one yesterday. And so there are women who don't want kids. They want to work a career. They want to do other things. They want to travel. I mean, so those women do exist. So, but the problem is they're rare. They're very rare. And to find one who
Mm-hmm.
doesn't want kids and she's hot and you got the chemistry with her, that's even more rare. So it's possible I could get married to the right woman, but the probability of it is very minute, and I accept that. I'm not expecting to find my soulmate in 6 months. I mean, I could be wrong, but I'm not holding my breath. I'm gonna enjoy my life. I'm gonna travel. I'm gonna enjoy good food. I'm gonna have great times. I'm gonna be in Vietnam in time for the Tet Festival, which is like when I came to the Philippines, I was here in time for Sinulog. That's how I kind of celebrated my moving here. was doing Sinologue in
Okay.
Cebu. I jumped into it full bore. I was out there for like 20 hours. I hardly even slept. And that's what I'm going to
Hmm.
do with that festival. I'm going to get into the thick of it. I'm going to be surrounded by Vietnamese people celebrating the biggest fiesta they got for the whole year, Tet Festival. So, you know, I want to do stuff. And if I find the right woman, yeah, after I've probably been in a relationship with her for 2 years, I'll go, this is the woman for me. She there's no red flags. She is who she says she is. I want to lock this down and get married. I'll do it. But the probability is, I accept it's a pretty low probability. I who knows? Again, I may end up single the rest of my life, and I'm willing to accept that. Because I tell you what I won't do. I won't rush into a marriage and lock myself into a bad situation. I do not want that to happen. Not for myself and not for anybody else. That's why I warn so many expats, take it slow, get to know her for a year before you go proposing marriage, you know. Uh, so I'm open to it, but it's got to pass some pretty tight scrutiny. So we'll see.
All right. I see a question in the chat that I definitely discuss. He says, "Why is the Philippines overrated?" I think the perception of the overrated version of the Philippines is, like I said, I think that when people say that the Philippines is overrated, that there is a matter of perception. There are some people that believe that, there is nothing really spectacular or great or wonderful or grand about the Philippines, and that's why they believe it's overrated. But then you have a chosen few who know a little bit more about the country, and they don't believe that it's overrated. I mean, but in your personal opinion, what do you believe, or why do you believe that people think the Philippines is overrated?
Well, I think the question has to be kind of rephrased because it's working on an assumption that the Philippines is overrated. Um, I mean, to put it another way, if someone was to ask the question, why is Alaska so hot? Well, that's assuming it's hot in Alaska. Okay. So to ask, why is the Philippines so overrated is to assume it's overrated to begin with. It's only overrated by some people, you know, it's
Mm-hmm.
not de facto overrated at all. In fact, if you talk to a lot of guys, like myself included, the Philippines, I had underrated it. I got here and it was more than I ever expected. It's been amazing. It's been probably the best damn decision I made in the last 10 years. I mean, I got so much more out of my 6 years in the Philippines than I ever expected. So, in my experience, I underrated the Philippines. It blew my mind away, you know? I mean, I've had a fantastic adventure here for the last 6 years, some good, some bad, but it's been amazing and I haven't regretted a moment of it. So, I, you know, I would answer the question though by saying that if somebody comes here and their conclusion is, oh, this place is overrated, it's not all it was cracked up to be, I would say that the problem really isn't the Philippines, it's that that person had expectations that were not realistic to the Philippines. If they expected to come here and everything was going to be just like in Western society, real sidewalks that aren't broken, cities that are not constantly under construction, if they had all these expectations, the problem isn't that the Philippines was overrated, it's that their expectations were too high. They did not accept the Philippines as it is. It just is what it is. And if a person comes here, like perfect example, when I first came here, I was at Mactan and I was at the outside the Grand Mall. And I walked outside and it's a little hot and I'm waiting for a taxi. So there was two Korean girls that I ended up talking to and I get in line behind them and we're just kind of chatting away and waiting for a taxi. Okay. Well, then this German guy comes out of the mall with his Filipino wife, and this German guy comes out. Now, the fact that he's married to a Filipina tells me he's been here a while. He should know better. So he comes outside and he kind of like abruptly confronts the security guard and says, "Where are the taxis?" And he says, "Well, sir, you need to fall in line. There'll be a taxi here in a few minutes." And this guy went on this like 30-second tirade. Well, in Germany, the taxis are ready and they're waiting and they're in the shade and they're this and they're that. And I'd only been here maybe a couple weeks, and I got kind of pissed off. And I turned to the guy. I said, because we're on Montagne, I said, the airport's right over there. You know, it's like his
Hmm.
expectations were so high. He didn't come here, like my uncle said, willing to adjust. He came here expecting Philippines to be like Germany. And so in his
I
mind, the Philippines is overrated. See what I'm saying? And because if somebody can come here and enjoy the beaches, the get on a mountain bike, go into the hills, meet cool people. I mean, there's so much to enjoy here. Really, it's like if anybody is disappointed with the Philippines, it's because their expectations were not really aligned with learning the place.
what I learned honestly, and this is something that I mean, something that I think this is just my thought only. I think some foreigners, doesn't matter where you come from, I think most people expect the Philippines to adjust to you. And when I say that, I say that from the perspective of, I'm coming here to a third world country. I come from my first world country. So, I feel like I should be accommodated. I feel like, if something's going on, I feel like, I need to be taken care of first. You have the me type mentality. Like, this is all for me. Like, this is my new playground and everybody should accommodate me. And that goes for women too. So
Mm-hmm.
what I'm noticing, when foreigners get rejected, they don't take that very well. When it comes
Yeah.
to trying to talk to girls and these girls don't want them, they don't accept it. I've seen
Yeah.
guys who are unable to accept the fact that a Filipina is just not interested in them.
Yeah. Some.
So that's just something that runs through my mind. I mean, any thoughts on that?
Yeah. I mean, again, I think that the Philippines, you could almost call it a crucible. It will it will test everything about you, um, because in the Philippines you can have plenty of time on your hands, you can have plenty of money on your hands to spend, and it's like when a person has plenty of money and plenty of time, you see their true character get tested. And add to it the weirdness that you run into, where things are kind of inefficiently run, where stuff is out of stock, taxis are not there, the building's still under construction that you're living in. I mean, all you add all this weirdness in, along with the mosquitoes and the humidity. The Philippines can be a crucible in the beginning and test a man's character. Um, if he never thought he was short tempered, he'll find out how short tempered he is when he gets here, or lack of patience, or uh, alcoholic or whatever. When he can buy booze for 35 pesos all day long, some of these guys just pull up a bar stool and never see the Philippines because they're just drinking beer all day. So it tests, to me, the problem again is not the Philippines. It just simply is a place. The issue is, how can a guy adjust to a new environment? Can he do it well, or is he just going to bitch, piss, and moan? You know, and the only way a person is going to survive outside their home country in any foreign land is they got to be flexible. They got to be flexible. They got to be teachable. They got to be patient, because to the degree that they lack patience and teachability, they're going to have a miserable experience. That's just how it is.
Yeah,
Really how it
yeah.
is.
And I think, I mean, we talked about expectations about the country. Some people over, they expect more than they get, and some people, they just want to come through and have the experience and share in it within themselves. I mean, I think that's most of us here. I mean, like I said, my experience was more so for schooling And as I got here for schooling, I learned to adapt to the college life in the Philippines. I ate at the carinderias. I ate the local street foods and stuff like that. I mean, I enjoyed my time here. And I was able to share in intramurals or intramurals, which are like games and activities that these colleges do. And you learn as you go along. And I think with your 6 years experience here and everything, I think you still pretty much learn something new every day. I mean, I think including myself, every day I learn something new that I may not have known before, or something that I thought to be true, but when I actually see it come out, I definitely noticed that this is real.
Yeah.
Like, this is real. I've heard people say it, and now I'm actually seeing it for myself. So I mean, I think that's a good thing about being a vlogger for those that have not come here yet, because I'm no different. You get the questions offline and stuff, and you may have had a video addressing a particular question that a subscriber has for you, but for some reason, you feel great being able to answer it again, because you are a person that these individuals choose to come to get information from. So I mean, regardless of what the audience is, it's definitely a great feeling to have people who trust in your work and trust in your channel, to be able to provide them good quality information. So with that being said, I think we've closed out. I think we've asked everything that's definitely needed to be talked about. So I do want to give you a moment to, give your final thoughts on anything that's going on, final thoughts on your upcoming trip, final thoughts on your lasting experiences in the Philippines, whatever you want to share. I give you the floor, and then I'm going to close it out.
All right. I guess the only thing I would really share with any viewer who made it through all this is that if you've never traveled abroad before, if you've never lived outside your home country, there's a lot of choices in Southeast Asia, but honestly, you really should start in the Philippines. The English language here is going to be a huge help. Huge help. If you're in the airport, you need to find a gate. Whatever it is, being in a country that speaks English, if you've never traveled abroad before and you don't know how to think on your feet, be creative, figure things out, whatever, the Philippines is the perfect place to learn how to be an expat because of the English. Because once you start going beyond
Hmm.
the Philippines to a country that doesn't speak English, you better be pretty damn creative. You better have some apps going. You better know people. You better have something going on. You got to be seasoned if you're going to be out in Thailand, Vietnam, and nobody or hardly anybody speaks English. And so I would highly recommend, I still continue to recommend the Philippines as a great place for guys to retire. It's a great place to find that relationship, for the last chapter of their life. Great place to have a new family. And it's a great place to even just vacation, again, because of the English language. Um, my only warning is I'm getting ready to go run amok through Southeast Asia because I spent 6 years here. I don't think you need 6 years, but I now know enough about travel that if something weird goes on, I can kind of deal with it. You don't want to be a babe in the woods just jumping right into Southeast Asia. So Philippines is probably the best place for a new expat to kind of get his feet wet, learn the chops, just realize how to survive outside of their home country. And there's so many cool things here to do. So really a good choice with the Philippines.
I happen to agree with that. I mean, there was no other place that I think is better than the Philippines. I mean, when it comes to coming to a country where, people do speak English. I mean, I've heard of the difficulties people go through in Cambodia and the difficulties that individuals go through in Vietnam. I've heard that it can be different, I mean, difficult for you to be able to communicate in China as well. So as far as Southeast Asian countries or Asian countries in general, with the exception of Japan, and even that's limited English depending on where you are, the Philippines would definitely be a good place for a first time foreigner traveling out of the country to go to. I mean, in reference to Southeast Asia. So, with that being said, guys, I do want to go ahead and I can't shout out everybody who came through because that's going to take me a long time, and my scroll thing doesn't go all the way back up. But I want to
Mm.
appreciate everybody for coming through and, sharing in this live stream with me. I definitely want to try to do more one-on-one videos. I do enjoy them, being able to have individuals share their personal experiences. Me and Rike have already had a live stream before. It was done many months ago. I want to say 6 to 8 months ago. So I wanted to bring it back on definitely before he makes his trip out of the Philippines, so that you guys can get his final thoughts on whatever he's going through right now, and so that you can get the update on where he's going. And if you guys definitely want to keep up with the channel, by all means, make sure you subscribe to the channel. That is Life Beyond the Sea. I believe that's the channel name. I did not leave it in the description because the internet was acting up early. But
Yeah.
Rika, you can leave your information like you did the last time, and I'll pin it to the top for anybody looking to get in touch with you or anything like that. It's not a problem. So, guys, I appreciate all of you guys coming through. I wish you guys the best of luck, and I definitely want to make sure that I'm giving shout outs to everybody, guys. I can't go through the list. I'm sorry because it was a lot of people. So thank you guys for coming through. Thank you for sharing in this live stream. I hope you guys definitely enjoy the rest of your day or your evening if you are in the United States. I know it's nighttime. So with that being said, Rike, appreciate you coming through, spending some time tonight. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Guys, we
All
are
right.
officially out. We are officially out. Thank you. Peace.
Cool. All right. Thanks.
Shut this off. Oh, where's my button at? Hold on. My computer's slow.